So, second piece of news. Let's talk about Keith Lee. Because there was a report that came out about Keith Lee, and it was a smaller report. You know, it was a relatively minor report. Another report that came out over the last few days is as I say, relatively minor report stating that the WWE may be considering a heel turn for Keith Lee. This isn't really a surprise, considering he's just come back, the landscape is different from when he left, and ultimately, he doesn't have a storyline right now. So honestly, I think this is the perfect time for exactly that to happen. Keith Lee is freshly returned after a prolonged and unfortunate absence, and right now, he isn't involved in any storyline, nor is he getting any real airtime. The last couple of weeks he's been on Main Event, where other wrestlers have been essentially consigned to. Jeff Hardy's been there a lot, for example, recently. For a while, spanning the time that Jeff Hardy was unavailable to Monday Night Raw, Keith Lee was competing in one of the most 50-50 feuds you'll ever see with Karrion Kross. I'm pretty sure they each won one match. I don't personally think it's possible to be any more 50-50 than a match each. Lee spoke openly on his YouTube channel in a video just after his return, essentially putting everything into context and letting us know the actual situation. He explained that he has been suffering with the long-term effects of COVID-19 and also a heart issue that he chose not to go into detail over. All power to him on that. Nobody has to share this information. He shouldn't have to share in-depth details on any of this, and people really shouldn't be hounding him for it. What he also said was that the issue, as much as anything, upon his return, was his general level of fitness, which was a very blunt, very honest explanation, and something that is really key to a return as he has just had. We've spoken about this in the past. Keith Lee was technically medically cleared a while back, but as he was unable to work out and actually exercise, he wasn't able to maintain the fitness level required of a WWE performer. Now that he's returned, that's surely going to be the very first task he needs to complete, to get out there, to get in his matches, to work his fitness level back up, and to get to the gym as much as possible, which I'm sure he's doing without overexerting himself. That's a key thing here. You can't walk back in after something like this and wrestle for 30 minutes. And nobody should ask that of you. This also explains then why his matches recently have been brief affairs, in which he's taken a few bumps and regardless of winner or loser, he's headed to the back, hopefully none the worse for wear. This means that Keith Lee is actively gaining match fitness and stamina back, while not having a storyline to sink his teeth into. Nothing significant, nothing at all, essentially. That's a weight off his shoulders. That's a lot of pressure just lifted away, which is good. It means he comes back without that weight of expectation on him from the company, from his opponents, and from the fans. A heel turn at this point would give him something major to get stuck into, would then give him a storyline from which he could build, even if it's just a case of a couple of backstage attacks, a couple of promos. It'll let him work his way back into the whole affair. There is a downside to this though, and that is that the entire main roster is incredibly heel heavy right now. Lashley and Roman at the top are both heels. Charlotte Flair, probably the top name on Raw right now, is a heel. In fact, both women's divisions are very heel heavy. Choices for opponents for Keith Lee are slim pickings as a result. Drew McIntyre is the obvious choice, but haven't we kind of already seen that? There hasn't really been a feud. They did compete, but not a proper feud. You've got Matt Riddle, but you haven't really got Randy Orton because that's still quite ambivalent. Damian Priest makes the most sense, but even then you're going to be competing against someone who's very much on the way up, and as a returning wrestler, that's a difficult situation to be a part of, because a loss to someone like Damian Priest who's just won a championship can sting a bit. So who do you face, and what do you do? That's a tricky one. Turning heel rules out any possibility of chasing the WWE Championship anytime soon. Lashley, as long as MVP is still with him, will be held in that heel position. It kind of rules out the possibility of doing much of anything. That said, while we did hear reports of Keith Lee being pushed to the top, it never quite panned out that way, and his absence certainly didn't help matters. Logically from here, maybe taking the pressure off is the right move. There have been rumours for about a year that we're going to see Keith Lee as a United States champion, or at least heavily involved in the championship scene. Maybe it's too early to go too far and too fast. Maybe Keith Lee needs a United States Championship division just as much as the United States Championship division needs Keith Lee. Maybe what he needs more than anything is just a relief of that pressure. KJ's excited for Keith Lee, says putting with the new Hurt Business is like 7-0 since beating Cross, but most of that is on main event after all, so while he's gaining ahead of steam, and I do think Hurt Business might be quite good for him, I don't necessarily see him rising to the top as part of Hurt Business. He would be backup, he'd be a sidekick. It's not the worst thing, as I say, pressure off, but we'll see. I think he's a good enough talker who doesn't need MVP, but we'll see. Again, I wouldn't hate it. Curse1 says it's hard to imagine Keith Lee as a heel. It's worked for others I've thought similar of. I didn't think Bayley was going to be a good heel. She's the example I always think of when this happens. I didn't think Bayley would make a good heel at all. I was completely wrong. Keith Lee, I'm not sure. It may just be that I've never really seen him in that position. But hey, sometimes it's worth giving it a shot. Sometimes it's worth trying something different just to see what the end result might be. Ghost of Nay says, I think they may have a little difficulty getting the fans to boo him since his illness has recently been made public knowledge and had a lot of positive feedback. Very true. There are a number of people right now who it's very difficult for WWE to get you to boo. There are obvious choices. Becky Lynch, you're going to struggle with that one. But there's a number of others. Booing Sasha Banks isn't easy. Booing Bobby Lashley they're struggling with at the minute as well. Curse1 says, what faces are then for him to face? Honestly, I have no idea. Other than Priest, you start to go pretty far down the card to people like Ricochet. Maybe we'll get Keith Lee versus Jackson Riker. Sorry to bring his name back up, but maybe that's logically what they're going for. Maybe that's the plan. Keith Lee and Jackson Riker. I don't like it, but we are where we are. Connor says, I do think WWE found it hard to book a big guy as a babyface. Vince always books him as a heel, so it would be better for him in my opinion, but I feel like people will still love Keith anyway, so I don't know how it would work. At the moment, the audiences that we're getting seem to be happy playing along. When you see like the "You suck" chants for Roman, when you hear the Bianca Belair chants, what WWE has been telling them to do, they've basically been doing. So it's kind of working for them. It's not guaranteed working, it's not long-term definite. We can't sit here and say, well, this is working so it's going to stay working. We can't say that. But it's a good start, and really, isn't that all you want? A good, solid start to really get you going and hype you up, as it were. That would work for me. A good solid start is all I really want. Ghost of Nay says we just need more clear baby faces on all rosters. A push for some of the baby faces since most of them aren't used often. Yeah, we need more baby faces to be winning matches, essentially. Because it's a lot of 50-50 booking, as we know, across the entirety of WWE. And you just need more baby faces who are going to win matches. It shouldn't be that difficult to pad out a card of baby faces who win matches. You really shouldn't be.